Welcome to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are on a mission to interview women and the occasional token man about how their passion and purpose have collided to create healthy relationships and profitable businesses. I am Elizabeth Denham here with Rebecca Bonet. We are the co-founders of the Coterie for Women and publishers of the Franchise Women magazine. So Rebecca, how is your week going?
It just feels like a blur. Where it's already hump day.
It is, by the way, but that means guys, happy hour.
Happy hour tonight. Hump day, happy hour on the Coterie for Women.
I don't have any wine. I'm going to have to be drinking tea.
Yeah. Bring your beverage of choice. I don't care what it is. If you're in the cold states, bring hot chocolate, but come join us. So let me think. My week this week was interesting. I had a thorn that I thought was interesting. As you know, I'm getting physical therapy for my back and for a broken femur. And I've been very discouraged with the progress that I've been making. And so I come into physical therapy the other day and my regular physical therapist isn't there. And they give me some young thing. And I'm assuming she's an aide versus a physical therapist. I don't know. So she puts me on the table. And she says to me, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling frustrated. I don't feel like I'm making any progress here. I said, I'm concerned that because I can't stand up. I can't get my knee to straighten up. I can't get my hip to straighten up. And I'm not walking upright. And she says to me, why do you feel that way? And I'm like, this has nothing to do with my feelings. This is a fact. I can't stand
This seems like up. A pretty objective thing to me. Either it's straight or it's bent.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And all I could think was, we've become a world where feelings seem to have some value, right? That it's not about, I'm there to be able to straighten up. And instead, what I'm hearing is, how do you feel about like somehow it's a feeling that's causing my knee not to straighten out and my hip to not straighten out. And I just spouted off. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this?
Huh?
I think it's the tacos. It's causing me to be a little bit more.
It's some taco rage.
It's a taco rage.
But you know what? You're not wrong. My husband always says, especially to people who are in a little bit of a fit, just because you feel it doesn't make it true.
Doesn't make it true.
Even if you felt that it was bent and it wasn't bent, that might be a delusion.
Right. But you can measure it. I can't put my knee down flat. It sticks out. Same way with my hip. So this isn't the feeling. This is a fact.
So you let her have it. Did you feel better after that?
I felt horrible. Elizabeth, I felt horrible. I swear to you, the tacos are turning me into a maniac because I should not have talked to her. She didn't know me from Adam. And I've just felt so bad.
She did ask you a stupid question.
It was a stupid question, but she can't help it. She's stupid. Right? I could help being unkind, right? Stupid, you can't fix, but I can fix being thoughtful and kind. And I wasn't.
You might be letting her off the hook just a little bit. I don't know.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
Right, so what's the rose? Because that was a pretty good thorn.
Yeah. So my rose, I know this is going to sound horrible, but my competitor has had one client for the last 8 years that I have wanted. And I haven't even touched them. I haven't even approached this particular client because it was just out of courtesy, right? I mean, if they're happy with another vendor, you want them to be able to continue. But guess what? They got hold of me last week and they're like, we are so ready to come over to Zoracle. And went on and on and on about they've been wanting to do this for a while and they're so excited and they're going to bring all of their people over. And there's a little part of me doing kind of a happy dance,
I bet.
Even though, supposedly I'm not competitive, there's a little part of me that is quiet.
I definitely think there's a little competitive streak in there. Okay.
There's a little competitive streak that goes, yay, this is one.
I I'm all for a little competitive streak. It makes you work harder.
It does. It does. And so they're very, very happy. I'm very happy. And so hopefully this will be a long relationship. So that was my rose. Now I want your rose and thorn.
My rose and thorn. This is funny because normally I can think of them pretty well. And this week I'm having a little bit of trouble, but I'll tell you what, to speak to your stupid questions, my kids, the other night, we've lived in this house since Donald and I got married, and our kids were ranging from 6 to 14. And now they're 14 to 22. So that's about 8 years we've been in this house, and they still don't know where things go. Last night our thing is popcorn and wine at nights, a lot of nights. And so he was going to get the popcorn bowl and it was in a completely different cabinet. And he's like, who put this in here? I don't know. But 8 years, nobody knows where to put a dish. It's the most irritating thing. And then they'll ask me, where does this go? I'm like, same place it's been for 8 years. Don't ask me that question. Somebody recently asked me where to put their dirty towels. I'm like, same place you've been putting them for 8 years. And then they got all huffy because how dare I be snarky? And I'm like, how dare you ask a stupid question?
That's a stupid question. Nothing's changed.
Yeah. It's the same process. I established it in the beginning and I have stuck to it because it works.
That's right.
It doesn't work when you ask me stupid questions. Just shut it. Put it where you've been putting it and just otherwise I'm going to make you do your own sheets and towels.
On laundry and
which they do popcorn. When they get to be seniors, I make them do it. But until then, I don't want my process messed with.
No, you control freak, you. I know what the solution is. You know those label guns?
Who's going to do the labels? Because that creates more work for me.
You're right. That's not fair. It's their problem, not your problem.
Unless I could direct them to label it while I sat on the couch with my coffee.
Or your wine and popcorn.
Or my wine and popcorn. I'd be okay with that. So funny. And so I was thinking about the rose. I think we've had Hannah, who is 22 and lives in DC, now that she's sort of more permanent there, you have to be more intentional about knowing their day-to-day life. And we started reading this book that we finished. We read it, we listened to it, both of us, while we did our walks or workout or whatever. And then we would talk every Tuesday night. And we finished it Tuesday. So now we've got to find something else that we can listen to because it just turned out to be an easy way to read a book. But it's been really nice. Like we have conversations that are not necessarily about something that needs to be discussed, like Thanksgiving plans or what's going on with work or whatever. We're talking about something completely different. And I think it gives us the opportunity, because people think that she's my biological daughter because we look alike. We get that all the time, but we're not. And so getting to know each other as adults in that different way, our book was about mindset. So it sparked some conversations, I think, that helped us have that more intimate bond. We're close anyway, but I think we're going to keep doing it just because I think it's a really good way for us to connect, and it's connecting us more as women than as parent-child.
Yes.
Which is kind of a fun thing. So when it finished, I was like, well, now what are we going to do? And so we're going to find something else that we can keep that trend going. But it's been a nice little connection with her that I wasn't really expecting to be as fun and valuable as it has been. So I think that's my rose for the week. I was thinking about it with a book ended, and I was like, dang, it's over. But it's not, because there are other books.
Other books or other topics you can discuss. I love that. I love that, because you're right. Most of our conversations with our children are about, organizing the holidays or school or this that, and the other. This is a deeper, more meaningful conversation that you're getting to have with your daughter.
Mm-hmm. And it speaks to who we both are, which I think is something that we've been in each other's lives for 9 years, but as you grow into adults, it's just a different way to connect more deeply and know who each other, mm-hmm. where we're coming from, So I think it's been more of a give and take. It's not me saying, well, what lesson did you learn from that? Or let me give you advice on this. It's perspective. So it's a much more balanced part of our relationship now. So it's been something I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, I love it.
Sure, I tell her I should send her this video and say, look, I don't know if I think this, but here's what I think.
I think it's a great idea. That's a beautiful rose. I think that's a rose all of us should adopt.
Yeah. Well, and that's why the roses and thorns, when we used to do this with my kids when they were younger, we would get things out of them that we didn't know were going through their heads. And it was just a great tool to spark a conversation, which is what this book has turned out to be. So I think when you can find those tools, especially in a chaotic world where everybody's so darn busy, just to be able to talk about something like tacos,
Yes.
it's important. I'm so glad I know that you have a taco problem now.
It's
I
horrible.
can support you through your taco journey.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What are friends for?
Smack your hand when you reach for that taco. That's what they're for.
Yes. No more tacos for me. That's it. No more. All right. Till next week, right? Till we do more roses and thorns.
Yeah. Welcome back to Where Passion and Purpose Collide. Today we have our token man, Leo Goldberger. Very excited to have him on. He's a friend of mine. And I'll tell you a little bit about him. Leo Goldberger started his franchise career in 2015 when he launched the Patch Boys. He quickly became a household name in the franchise arena when the business took off, and in less than 5 years, he grew it to more than 100 locations. Early in 2020, he was bought out by the Belfour Franchise Group. Leo loves to create new concepts just like he did with the Patch Boys. It was a new concept in the franchise world, untested and unproven, but he worked hard and found success very quickly with that brand. Today, Leo has Dryer Vent Squad and Frost Shades. They're both home-based concepts that are in demand with low overhead and huge profit margins. He has also just launched a new brand, which he's going to tell us about, that has a ton of potential, and he's really excited to tell us about. Leo has a passion for making people successful. He enjoys the challenges that come with it and loves to see franchise owners become entrepreneurs. So Leo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. You should have me more often. This is so good for my ego. You should have me here every 2 weeks.
You get to sit there and listen to how great you are, right?
Yeah. Well, why did you stop? Did somebody make you stop?
Well, we have to give people a chance to experience it for themselves.
Well, it's really an honor to be here. Thank you so much. As a man, I know I'm the token man today. I look at your magazine every month and I follow your website, and it's a really great job. So I'm really excited to be here.
And you were a big part of helping us launch the Franchise Woman. So we're very grateful to you and to your support. So can you backtrack for us a little bit, Leo, and tell us how you got into franchising?
Well, it's not really such an exciting story or a very sexy story, but to give you like the quick version, I was in construction all my life, starting in the 90s. And 2007, just looking back at 2007, I had a company with over 400 employees with lots of money in the bank account, doing big skyscrapers in New York and everywhere else. 2008, I had no money, no employees, and no house. If you remember a little bit, you're young enough that you don't remember 2008. You were still a little kid then, but in 2008, the bank, collapsed on all of us. And with a couple bad years, but a couple of years later, I came up with the Patch Boys concept. It was a struggle to get it going. Franchising is a little bit more than just taking an idea. You really got to work it first yourself to make sure it's a great concept and you can make money out of it. And then I just went to one of those trade shows, home shows, to talk about the Patch Boys. And across the street was a franchise show. And I met a gentleman called Chris Connor, and he heard what I had to say, and he said, "Oh my God, this would make the best franchise concept." Keep in mind at that particular point, I didn't know how to spell the word franchise. But 2 years later, we just launched, and here we are doing franchising.
What a great story! So you're kind of an accidental franchisor.
Yeah, or like they call a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah.
A mistake that paid off, though. I mean, so many people went through, especially in that industry. My husband got laid off. His department was shut down in real estate development. And, it was a struggle for so many. But for you to have that tenacity to pick yourself back up and come up with a new idea and launch this whole new career for yourself. I mean, that's something that people can learn a lesson from, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, if the story would gone exactly that way, it was a little struggle for me too. It wasn't just like I got up and I started working.
Well, yeah.
Tried a couple different things, and to come up with this concept, I basically looked back at construction. I said, I don't just want to open another business in construction. Everything is like large. An average building construction could be $40 million, and
Mhm.
there's overheads, and there's banks, and there's inspections, and there's different trades. At the end of the day, even if you're left with 10% out of a $40 million project, it's a lot of money, but you never end up with a 4%. So you could with a 10%. You can go through 2 years, and then this expense came up. So I was looking for specific items. And Patch Boys at that particular time was something I said to myself, how many times have people called me that they have a little,
Yeah.
sheetrock that's broken, and who wants to go there for a little sheetrock? You put some compound, you wait a day, you come back for the second coat and the third coat, and it's much more than that. Going into someone's house where everything is clean, and the typical construction trade, you have these big boots and dust all over the place, ladders and hard hats, and I just realized we just got to find a way how to do it, and there was no such a concept in the franchising world. Today, there's a couple of copycats already out there, but at that particular time, nobody has done it before. So I had to first take the brand and really make sure that it's workable and that's it's profitable. And we figured out a way how to do it. And 5 years later, it's owned by the Pelfor Franchise Group, and they're continued to grow it, and it's a really great brand.
Well, it is. It is well received. My husband, Leo and I met because my husband bought a Patch Boys franchise here in Alabama. And the thing that they tell him the most often is nobody wants to do a small patch. They can't ever find somebody to come out to do the smaller jobs. So they're always very grateful to have found somebody whose expertise and focus is just that. So it is something that people were looking for.
That's how we met. And for the record, I only sold it to him because of the woman behind the man. That's the only reason. Just to know the record for that. Yeah, but I was down, in the Gulf Coast with you guys a couple of days, and it was really nice. And that's how we got the connection. But yeah, this is typical what we had. We have 100 locations across, or I had 100 locations across. And that's how it got me into the franchise world. And once I sold it, I realized, besides for the money and besides for all the different benefits there's no better feeling when you take someone. I mean, your husband was in a great shape. He had a business and he had a nice family and everything. But there's some people who are lost. They don't have work and they have a couple of dollars and they're scared. What am I doing with my last $50,000? And do I go to work? Do I start a chance? I don't know how to do it. And I've seen it many times where somebody says to me, I only have $90,000 left. I'm scared to use it. And then they come back to me 3 months later. I only have 70,000 left. What do I do? And then they come, I only have 40 left. And because if you don't make money, you spend money. There's no spending money, which all of us know, you don't. So to have people, we had in Patch Boys, we had a guy who worked in a church for $6 an hour. He bought a franchise with us. We helped him out with the financials and everything else. Today, he owns 8 locations and bought a house, and so many similar stories. And it really is a good feeling when you look back 2-3 years later. Wow, this guy really made it. We all doing it to make a living, but the side benefits are really great.
Yeah, the hard thing. So if they have the work ethic and they're willing to learn, you have a business model that you can share with them with Patch Boys and with your other concepts too, and gives them that kind of new lease on life, the freedom to build something.
We have right now 3 brands, 2 of them that a lot of people know, and one we're going to discuss soon, what we just recently launched, which is already doing really well. And people always ask me, how did you decide to take a franchisee? Do you check his credit? Does he have to have a certain amount of money? And I always say, all this, obviously, we got to check a little bit to know who we're dealing with. But to me, it's all about being passionate and being hungry. If you're a guy that is hungry to make a living, or you're passionate about having business ownership, you will have an opportunity with us, and we'll find a way to get you on board. And we've done it. I mean, in Patch Boys, just to give you an idea, we had, without obviously going into a name, a guy who bought from us a Patch Boys, 43 years old. When he was 17, he went to prison for 18 years for some nonsense that he did. You know how it goes. And nobody gave him a chance. And I spoke to him and his wife They were so passionate, like they changed their lives around 5 years ago and they couldn't get a break. And today he's really, really, really successful. And to me, that's like the double, there's nothing better than that. So you're looking
You're
for
talking, you're talking our language, Leo, where passion and purpose collide, right? And that's what you're saying. They have the passion.
100%.
Right. This has a bigger purpose. It's not just about making money. It's about
100%,
giving.
100%. And it makes you feel good too. It's not just for that, but you really do feel good when you look back and you say, wow, I remember this guy when he came to me. The guy had nothing and he was scared. He had the last couple of dollars and like they want to do something, but they don't know where to zig, where to zag. They don't know where to start. And when they come to us, like we do drive and squat. We just launched it very, very recently after the Patch Boys. Obviously, people always ask me, you sold the business for a couple of really good dollars. Why are you doing this again? And the real answer is I really enjoy. I enjoy the concept. I don't enjoy the destination. I enjoy the journey, as they say. And I really like along the way where people come along and drive and squat. We sold 11 units in the last 4 or 5 months. They're up and running, and people are reporting back, wow, this month I made 10,000, I made 18,000, and these are people who were scared to go into business or people who went into business on their own and they failed before, which is even harder.
Right.
So having that part of the business is really exciting.
So talk to us. You mentioned Dry Event Squad, and you've also recently launched Frost Shades. And what I think is really interesting about your gift, I think, is coming up with a concept and putting it into action and making it happen. And you've chosen very niche businesses, and they all have a commonality that they're low overhead, high margins. So tell us how you navigated to that particular space, because I think that's one reason that you've been so successful is that you can get these people in at a low cost. They're going to start making money quickly. And it's a very niche thing that people need.
Well, the name of the game to make money is all about overhead. I mean, everybody understands it, but not everybody practices it. I've spoken to people who went into different kind of business. I don't want to get into other people's business, but where on the first of the month, they need $4,000 to pay for the warehouse. They need a high-low in there. They need a trailer. They need 2 trucks. They need 2 guys to accept material, and they need inventory. And it takes you like years and years until you get even, let alone start making a profit. We have people who started both Patch Boys and Dry Event Squad and Crochet, and the new one that I'm going to tell you soon about. I'm keeping you in suspense a little bit.
We're on our edge of our seats here.
Control yourself. Where people in month number 2 told me, wow, I just made a $4,000 profit. A profit, not a sale. Because there's no overhead. You don't have to pay rent for an office. You literally need a phone and passion. That's all. If you have that, you will make money because everything we do is a service that's very much needed. So, for example, you look at Dry Event Squad. This is the only home-based service business with 0 cost of goods. 0. You buy the machine one time for $2,000, and the person calls you that my vent needs to be cleaned. You look at every service business. In the morning, they're all lined up by Lowe's or Home Depot. They got to buy paint. They got to buy sheetrock. They got to buy electric wires or plumbing supplies. You go up there. We put in the vacuum. We take some measurements, airflow measurements. We throw it in the garbage. We go to the next shop. So you could do 10 to 15 of those a day at $99 to $129 a pop, and your cost of good is nothing. And we see profit margins right now anywhere between 50 and 70%. So we've had people in month number 1 came home with a profit. Month number 2 came home with a decent profit, So that's number 1. Another thing that I'm very careful with all my brands is work and life balance. That's very, very important to me. I don't ever want to see somebody open a business where he'll tell his wife for the next 5 years, I'm not home because I got to develop the business. So just like with the Patch Boys, we have it now with Dry Event Squad. If you look at most home service business, the first thing you'll see on their van, it says 24/7. Because if you're a plumber or you're a restoration guy and somebody calls you, hey, I have a leak in my basement Thursday, 11 p.m., the last thing they want to hear, I'll see you on Monday, 9 a.m. You wait the next half hour. Nobody calls us 2 p.m. that I have a crack in my wall. Nobody calls us like my drive-in really needs to be clean. Could you be here? And nobody calls us to tint their windows at 4 a.m. in the morning. So we're one of the very, very few home service brands that every brand that we offer is 9 to 5, no weekends. No, you really can have the idea about here is you make money, you have a good life work balance, low overhead, all these kind of stuff. So every business that we're involved with will have the same features.
This is brilliant. It's also, like you said, less stressful. We're not, dealing with all of a sudden a flood and I got to clean up a flood in my house or something dramatic. This is something that can be planned and organized around not only our lives as business owners, but our clients' life, where it works within their schedule for us to come clean out their dryer vent or to patch that particular hole, which, by the way, I just bought a home and I got a hole because of some mold. And I'm thinking, I got just this little hole and I did it.
Recommend someone for you.
There you go. There you go. But, to Elizabeth's point, you seem kind of wired for this idea of inventing or innovating, and you have this common thread that is low overhead, work-life balance kind of thing. Before you got in franchising, were you also this innovative and this creative and thinking this way, or is this something new as you've become more systematized and knowing that you have to pass a system on to a franchisee?
Well, it's fair to say when I worked for myself, I was a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't take the chances for other people's money, with other people's lives the way I took on my own. So I failed plenty of times. I'm one of those people who don't like to throw out one ball and catch it. I like to throw out 15, and if I catch 8 of them, I'm pretty good, But when it comes to franchising for other people and having them, I really respect, when somebody comes in, it's not just, hey, I signed up a franchise, here's $25,000, here's $35,000. I really understand what it means when somebody has like his last 50,000, or even if he has 50,000 above that, just to take money and give it to somebody for an idea. So I cannot gamble with somebody else's money and just say, hey, I have an idea. When you see my ideas that are coming out and they're ready for franchising, trust me, for every idea, I have 4 ideas that really didn't work so well. I never brought it to the franchising concept,
Right.
I always tell people I own approximately 300 names, websites, all different kind of names. Some of them will probably not get renewed once I die, because I keep renewing it thinking that one day I'll do it. But to take that process and go to someone and say, hey, invest in it, I like to know that I've tried everything and I figured out a way how to make money, and we tested it again and again and again, and that's when I could take it out there. So, which, we have 3 brands, and we just talked about, Frost Shades and Dry Vent. Recently, we just announced a really, really great brand, and this is going to be
drum roll. We need a drum roll here.
It's not that dramatic, but first of all, you got to learn how to pronounce the name. It's called Magnetainment, which is a magnet and entertainment. So we combined the name Magnetainment. And if your viewers are going to go online and check magnetainmentfranchise.com or just magnetainment.com, it's an amazing concept. We just launched it literally 3 days ago, and we have approximately 60 people who are looking to buy.
Wow.
I think out of the 60, 53 are women.
Yay!
Hey, there you go. That's going to be give an opportunity for people, women 23 years old, 24 years old, where they could go into business for themselves. One of the most amazing business. Basically what we do, you throw a birthday party for your daughter, for your sister, for your friend. We come in over there, we take pictures, and on the spot, we print them on magnetic backgrounds, and we hang it up so for people to take it home. It's one of the most inexpensive ideas to have a party really rocking and rolling. And with today's youth, especially younger women, everybody's an influencer and everybody's a photographer and amateur photographer, and everybody has a friend. It's such a great concept, and the all-in price for that, with the franchise fee and with all the expenses and everything, is less than $25,000. So we really made it in a way where it's so inexpensive to go in there, and we use the same ingredients like we use with the other one. If you have passion, you're hungry to be in business, we'll find a way to get you into that business. So I think that's going to be one of those amazing businesses, and wait till you meet our president, a 22-year-old woman, Kayla Ryan, out of Nashville, a woman I've never seen any woman or man for that matter have so much drive. She's 22 years old. She owns her own home. She's graduated with college. She's just one amazing president. So we'll give you the first shot to interview her when the time comes.
Oh, we would love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I think this is such a cool idea. You talk about birthday parties, you could do bridal showers or bachelorette parties or family reunions
corporate events, weddings,
Mhm.
anything you could do. And you think you can't get a word in when I'm here, wait till you have Kayla. You take off the whole hour. So
We'll have to keep you two separate so we can at least talk to Kayla.
I'm a fan watching. I'm not going to be in the same program. It won't be a chance for both of us.
That's exciting. And so, so this is launched in the last few days, but what you talked about before was testing. And when we talked to you the other day to get ready for this call, you talked about the fact that you had tested it already. So it's a proven concept.
We sure did. We tested it in Tennessee, where Kayla is. We tested it in New Jersey. And with Drive-In, we did the same exact thing. With Frosty, we did the same exact thing. We opened 2 locations. It's much more than testing it. I know you can make money out of this business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the testing part. It's figuring it out, the ins and the outs. Do I want to use this kind of concept? We made some software to make it easier, because we don't just take cameras. We'll take your theme of the party and incorporate it into this. How do we do it? Where do we advertise? How do we spend money on marketing?
Mm-hmm.
How much do we charge on everything? So on and so on. It's just so much more. We don't just take a bit and say, hey, we'll clean drive-ins. I think people need it. When I present it to someone, I want to make sure they have every detail. In our company right now, people look at me and they say, oh, you're a new company, which we might be a new concept, but obviously we have the franchise experience, but we have
Mm-hmm.
a huge team. We have a great marketing team. We have an operations team. We have a branding team. We have a compliance team. We have a legal team. We have a training department. So we have it all set up. So when you come in, you're ready to go straight out of the gate.
So I've been in franchising for 27 years, and I know there's certain people that are wired for new concepts as franchisees and others that need to be with these mega things. But could you tap on a little bit the benefits of being with an early stage franchisor? There are many wonderful benefits of coming in early with Magnetanium. And I probably didn't say that right. I'm sorry if I butchered.
But you'll get
Magnetainment. We need to practice.
Magnetainment. There we go. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Practice for the last week, so she knows how to get it out.
I've got it now.
Well, there's obviously, just like you mentioned, there's a lot of good things about getting into a business that's fairly new and it has a great product. To me, I always ask the people, find me another product where you have the cell number of the CEO and deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back to smaller is friendlier. When you have a small business, when you go into a business, and there's a lot of great businesses with hundreds of locations, it almost you don't matter so much. We have 800 locations. You make it, you make it. You don't make it, you don't make it. And there's you're speaking to some 5th level guy. You're not going to speak to the CEO or the VP of operations or anybody else in the executive offices. You speak to a person who gets $2,000 every time she signs up, or he or she signs up a new franchisee, and it doesn't matter. I have said to probably hundreds of potential franchise owners, and I said, this business is not for you. And they say, no, I have the money. I say, it's not about the money. You have to have a feeling for that. You got to have a drive for that. You got to have a passion for that. And I really look for that. So I do not allow anybody in the office to talk to a potential franchisee but myself, because it's not about just signing up numbers and having more people. I really get down to the bottom of it to make sure that this is what you like to do. You understand the ins and the outs of the business. But when you do get into our franchisee, especially in the first year or two, when there's very few locations or it's just starting, the benefits are endless.
Yep.
The team, nobody wants you to succeed more than a newer team. As an example, I don't have to call 150 people and see how they're doing. I can literally call once a week those 8 or 9 people and work with them. We also get a lot more input. And what people don't realize in franchising, you could research your franchise a million times. It might work in New York and New Jersey. All of a sudden, you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and they have a totally different way of doing things over there. So we get that from new franchise owners, and we'll adjust. if this particular advertising or marketing scheme works in the East Coast, it might not necessarily work over there. So we
Right.
have tools to research it all. So the number one benefit from me to coming into a new franchisee is you'll get all the attention, and nobody's going to root more for you being successful than the people who are new in the industry.
Well,
Agreed.
and I will testify to that, because when Donald was researching you guys, the Patch Boys, he took a little road trip and went and visited people in their towns and learned about the different, how it worked in different areas, and all the, talked about, does this work the way that, they say it does? And every single person came back and said yes.
I remember that well,
Mhm.
because I actually drove down to Philadelphia and I met Donald over there.
Right, yeah.
I just followed different people every different day, and he got in. And to me, that was one of the reasons, by the way, why I said this guy is good, because he didn't just, hey, here's $25,000 I'm going to buy. He went to different locations. He also went to South Carolina, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I guess he kept driving down the East Coast and just stopped in everywhere we had a location. And he really did his research and asked the right questions. And to me, that comes back to the passion and to the hunger, where he wanted to succeed and he wanted to make sure that that's going to work by him. And good to see that you don't get to see him so often. He's busy working.
Right.
Yeah.
But the nice thing was what you were telling him was true. And I think when you have that kind of a smaller system, you are able to have those interactions. People are more accessible across the board, and you can be more certain of what you're getting into. So I think that kind of culture builds trust quickly, because with a newer system, that's something that you've got to do pretty immediately, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. It goes even a little bit further than that. If you're looking at a lot of these very large franchise people, and they're great people, I have a lot of friends in the industry. When a guy like your husband, like Donald, will search a business, and he's going to go to one of those businesses, they're going to give him a list of 5 of their best people,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't get a true picture of what's going on. And
Right.
I want them to speak to everybody, even the Patch Boys. By Donald, I gave him, I said, here are the 30 people. At that particular time, I think we had like 30 locations. And I said, here are the 30 people. Some of them are really struggling. And I want you to see why they're struggling. They're not following the marketing, or they're not doing this particular thing right, which is very important, because every business every franchise has close to a 10% failure rate, where people are just, the old saying, you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't force to drink it, We can give you a process, but if you're not going to follow it through. So for me, it's very important to make sure that they get to see how you could fail as well if you don't do the proper thing. So with a new company, you're going to get all that, because there's only 8 or 10 people in here. Speak to all of them, and I'm going to tell you exactly what he's doing right and why it's working. And luckily for us, our first 11 over here, Drive-In Squad, they're all really doing well. So it's a combination that we're very picky who we're getting in there, and also that we really research this market and know exactly how to get busy.
So, Leo, we're running out of time. I wanted to highlight back just a minute ago about this new concept you have, and its leader is a young woman, and many
Come on, say the name. You can't say it. Go for it.
Magnetainment.
Very good.
Magnetainment. Thank you.
You.
And I find it interesting that it's also young women that are attracted to this. So this entrepreneur spirit is alive and well in this younger generation, and you are embracing it, as is your president, Kayla, embracing it. So I want to acknowledge you for that. So final question for you.
Well, let me just say, before you say the question, that's actually a credit to the young generation.
It is.
The young generation, the millennials, they get a lot of slack, like they're young, they don't want to work. I don't think I found a better group of young people who want to work right now. People get it, they understand it. And I think they have a bigger drive of wanting to own their business. Maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, or whatever number, we're not going to announce a number. When I was a teenager, all we wanted to get a job is so we have money for beer on the weekend,
Yeah.
The kids today, they know what they're doing. They obviously have better platforms than we had. We didn't have YouTube, and we didn't even have cell phones when I grew up. But so they have more opportunity, but they absolutely have great drive to be ownership, be entrepreneurs, and they get it. So that, yay to the young people.
Yeah, especially this Generation Z, this young generation. I totally agree. And I love that you're tapping into it with this concept. So final question, how do people get hold of you, Leo, to learn more?
Well, they have their people counting my people. No, well, the easy one is all our companies have a great website, dryeventsquad.com, frostshades.com, SHADES, frostshades.com, and magnetainment.com, which is magnet and entertainment just combined together, magnetainment.com. And they could read about us, watch videos on all of these 3 sites. They'll see videos, how we actually do events and how we do marketing. And they'll hear feedback from customers, they'll hear feedback from franchise owners. So we really give you, we're not trying to get you, we're trying to explain it to you. You know,
Perfect.
I always tell people, there's plenty of people who I told this one is not for you. And I keep coming back to that because that's very important.
Mhm.
It's not just like we're trying to make a sale. We're trying to make a good fit. We're trying to get a good relationship that this business works for you. But magnetainment, I can tell you right now, is going to be something really amazing.
We're so excited. We're looking forward to it.
I know,
Thank
it's
you.
exciting. We got the scoop. We got
Sure
the
did.
first big interview with a
I
with a
have
new
a feeling
brand.
I'll have some more scoops in the years to come. So I'll always
Absolutely,
come back
yeah.
if you still have a token man once in a while, you know.
We will.
Of course, we've got to have our token men.
That's right.
So thank you for your time today, Leo. We really appreciate you being our token man.
Well, you're very welcome, both of you. You guys are doing great work, and I hope you have me again one day. And it was really fun.
What do you think is the #1 challenge for franchisors? You got it, getting the right fit franchisee. And as you know, poor fit franchisees are often poor performers. Poor fit franchisees cost more to train and support. Poor fit franchisees are rarely satisfied or compliant, which can lead to validation issues. Not a good place to be. But now there is a solution. Zoracle Profile's scientific spot-on match program. Working with top broker groups in franchising, Zoracle has created a platform that scientifically matches the broker's candidate to the right fit franchise brand. Spot On Match predicts the compatibility, performance, and viability of a prospective franchisee. Spot On Match gives the franchise development team a data-driven and scientific approach to selling franchises. This is how it works. Zoracle works with each franchisor to establish their top performer blueprint. This research assesses current franchisees to determine the key psychographic indicators that separate high performers from mid to low performing franchisees. The final result of the research is the brand's Eclipse report, which compares prospective franchisees to a franchise system's high performers. Finally, brokers are running a spot-on profile on each of their franchise prospects. These profiles are then scientifically bumped up against the franchisor's high performer algorithms, and the match process begins. Dashboards are built for the franchisor and the broker to make sure the process is smooth and trackable. Right fit matches instantly. Find out how you can be a spot-on match member. Save time. Stop guessing. Start matching. Call Zoracle Profiles.
Welcome to Women in the Know, where we discuss everything from politics and policy to relationships and marketing. We take the knowledge we have gained from our interviews and our life experiences and share it with you, the viewer, in hopes that we all can learn a little something each week. So Rebecca, this week, we just talked to Leo Goldberger, who has several brands, just sold the Patch Boys, has a couple of new ones, newer ones. And one of the things that stuck out for both of us about him is his ability to innovate and to be an initiator and to conceptualize and then put it into action. So we wanted to talk a little bit more and delve a little more deeply. He kind of skimmed over it a little bit, like it wasn't as important as we think it is. So I think that we need to, say kudos to him, because it's not a skill everybody has. And the way he is focused on niche industries, I think has been a big part of his success. So what was your takeaway from our talk with Leo about those things?
It was his almost humility or lack of
Mhm.
even awareness of this gift he has,
Mhm.
this talent for coming up with ideas, but not just ideas. He's able to put structure under them, systems under them, executables underneath them, so others can do that business. So he's this wonderful combination of innovator and initiator combined with this ability to execute. I mean, there's a dime a dozen people out there that come up with a great idea and nothing ever happens. So it was almost like he didn't even know this was a gift he had, you know, that he could see something that was not being addressed before and go, you know what, I can turn that into a business. And then boom, 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 he put the ducks in a row to make it happen. And to your point, always with a very common idea that this business needs to make financial sense for the common man, for the average Joe, for the guy or gal that can't take $1 million risk or even $100,000 risk. He was always keeping that in mind.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I have so much respect for people who, like, we all have a million ideas, right? I mean, we'll have these fleeting thoughts and you think, I wish I had done something with that. But for someone to actually come up with these ideas and then execute them and execute them well, I think that's where the talent lies. The talent lies in the drive and the execution. And I'm not saying he doesn't have great ideas, but I think that so many of us have the idea without the follow through. So to
Right.
have both of those things, and to be able to execute and build something, and he's found a system that works. I mean, his brands are different, but his concept is the same,
Right.
you know, across all of those, and because it's been proven successful.
Right. Right. It is a gift. It truly is a gift, this ability to execute. Now, my guess is, and this is just me hypothesizing, I can
Mhm.
say that word. It's the other word that I had problems with.
Magnetainment.
Magnetainment, his newest concept.
I had to write it down and I got it.
You know what? That's what I need. I needed to see it.
Mhm.
Magnetainment. But my guess is this innovative executor, and I wish there was a better word for that. There's probably a certain point where a business grows, where it becomes more of a perpetuate the system, manage, the day-to-day kind of stuff, probably isn't as exciting for him or as big of a challenge or even something he would be seriously long-term interested in. His God-given talent is in idea, execute, grow it to a certain place where it makes sense for others. But probably that day to day, once he's at 400 units or whatever, is probably not his cup of tea. He's going to have to build a team around him to do that kind of stuff.
Mhm. I think that's true. So I have a question. Do you ever have an idea or an invention or something that you did not follow through on that you still think would be a great idea?
You know, it's so interesting. My son and I actually toy with this all the time. Various ideas that we've had over the years and keep a log of them. I'm definitely an executor. You know, I will have an idea, and before I've even penned out the likelihood of its success, I will jump in and take the risk. There's like some kind of internal mechanism that says, I got to see this to fruition. I
Mhm.
think it's part of my OCD. Once I get a picture in my head, I can't stop until that picture comes about.
Mhm. Love it. I love it. It's fun. That's the fun part.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, there we have it. We analyzed Leo Goldberger and his talents and his gifts and looked at us. How about you? Did you have any kind of wild, crazy ideas in your career, in your life?
Um, I always have ideas in terms of writing and telling stories and that kind of thing. But the one thing that sticks out that I never did was when I was having babies, I had them every 2 years. So I had 0, 2, and 4 when they were all born. And you know how a baby teethes and you give them a spoon at a restaurant and they
Mm-hmm.
chew on the spoon? Well, inevitably they turn the spoon around and gag themselves with the stem of the spoon, right?
Right.
So my
Right.
idea was we should have spoon on both ends, like a teething toy for babies that you could just take to the restaurant with you because they want to feel like they have a spoon.
Aw.
And then they can't gag themselves with the straight end. That was my
So yeah, it would have to be short so they can't stick it down their throat.
yeah.
I
But if they
love
could
this
hold it in the
idea.
middle and have a spoon on both sides, then
I love it.
no risk of gagging. So
Okay. All right. So anybody in the baby business that wants to invest, this is
Mhm.
now officially through this video trademarked copy. And there's a copyright on it. And
right.
it's Elizabeth's idea. So anybody
claim
that's
it.
good at execution, you
Yeah,
can,
hook up with me and we'll
hook up with
create
Elizabeth.
spoons.
teething spoons.
There you go.
All
funny.
right. Well, until next week, we're out of here. Until next week's Woman in the Know. Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. If you have a question for us, send them to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. So we're coming off of an interview with Leo Goldberger, who has 3 different franchise concepts out there. And so our question today is about these younger generations. He has a concept that is attracting that 22, 23, 24-year-old woman. So what are your thoughts about that? I have some opinions, having been in franchising for 27 years. And I'm so excited that here's a franchisor who's paying attention to a marketplace that is ready and has this entrepreneurial spirit, and his whole business model is designed for this generation Zer. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a neat thing that he's focusing on that market because, millennials get a bad rap and are not thought of well in terms of work ethic and tenacity and grit and all those things. And I think this Generation Z has stepped it up a notch or two. And I know that I think part of it is technology has played a role. They have access to pretty much anything they want to do. My high schooler has a website for his videos that he and his cousin make. They make movies and they put them on there, and they're not doing it to make money at this point, but they can, and Luke at one point, he can make the best macaroons you've ever put in your mouth.
Ooh.
They're so good. And it is hard. Like, it took him a while. So he made a Facebook marketplace site when he was in high school where he was selling macaroons, and he didn't do a ton with it, but they have the idea that anything is possible because it's at their fingertips, I think.
Mhm.
So many of these, I know a lot of young people. We have a family friend whose child made fudge every Christmas. And it was a cottage industry. He was sending it out to people everywhere at Christmas time, and he made it, I think, a pretty decent buck off of it. So I wonder how much that plays into it. That they just think that it's possible to do their own thing and make their own money, and they all can Venmo and Cash App, and people pay them for these things that way. And, why not? So I think it's kind of fun that Leah's got this whole franchise opportunity for these young people who really are interested in business ownership.
Young people and women. It's interesting. At Zoracle Profiles, we did a ton of research on the gender differences in franchising, and hands down, franchising is fabulous for women in general. We take to it like duck to water, right? So it's kind of cool. But we also looked at the various generations statistically, and this generation, Generation Y, Generation Z that are coming up are more disciplined, more focused, more entrepreneurial, and also more confident than the generation before them, the millennial generation, especially women. Women in this Y and Z generations seem to be just sort of more driven and more focused and more entrepreneurial. And I think you're right. Some of it is this whole feeling of we could do anything and technology is going to support that, etc. And you were talking about your son and other friends. I have a grandson who is 15, and just started his business. He has a vending machine business, and he's taking candy vending machines to various businesses and putting them in. 15 years old. And he is very quiet, very shy, but knows that he can have some passive income as he goes through high school.
Smart.
My granddaughter, 22 years old, started her dance studio at age 15, got a building, finished it out. It's marketing, has about 90 students right now. So she at 22 has already been in business 7 years.
Wow.
So very different than the baby boomer generation, where we waited until we had the successful career, we had some money stacked back, and then we chose to go in business. These younger generations, and women in particular, are jumping into entrepreneurship at a much younger age than ever before.
It's a very interesting thing. I know my ex-husband's mother was a Depression era, and she was very opposed to him getting out of the Navy because that was security, that was a good job, that was retirement, that was health insurance, all of those things. But at the time that he was in the 90s, they were scaling back. They had overstaffed. How it kind of ebbs and flows, and they were cutting back, and it wasn't as secure anymore as she thought it was, because those things go up and down. But her generation was of that mind, like the baby boomers, I think, that you don't leave security. And now, and I think probably with the 2008 and the economic ups and downs, these younger people don't necessarily see the same security that maybe previous generations had in the workforce. And so they're trying to make their own security,
right?
Which I think is brilliant.
I think it's brilliant. I absolutely, totally agree. It used to be get your college education, find a good company to work for. And these kids, notice they're kids to me, they're kids.
Right. Me too.
Right. Understand that maybe a college degree isn't going to get me what I need, and maybe a career in the military isn't going to take me where I need to go, and maybe I'm not going to be 30 years or 40 years in a particular space. Let's explore this idea of business ownership. To me, it's exciting because franchising, business ownership, is the last bastion of the free enterprise system. And I am pro the free enterprise system. I'm a capitalist all the way, right? So I love seeing.
So that just reminds me, did you read Hannah's article the other day?
I did. I loved
they were
it.
saying this is the last bastion of freedom in the Florida, where we don't have to wear a mask, and the last bastion of whatever. And that just made me think
this is the last bastion of capitalism and
the mullet toss, man. The last bastions.
Right. And notice they were young people and older people there saying whatever. But as it relates to what Leo's up to and franchising's up to and women are up to, these younger folks get it, that their freedom, their work-life balance, control of their life is going to come from business ownership. It's not going to come from those old traditional ways that we used to do things.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about this. There's so many things that have changed. I think that the old guard has not gotten on board with work-life balance and flexibility and working from home and all these things. So I think they see a lot of benefits to being able to own your own time, own your future, make your own mark. I mean, it's a very positive, I think, evolution.
I agree. Go young people.
Yes.
We're in your corner. We're in your corner. And if you're a woman, join the coterie and we'll support you in this endeavor of being in business and whatever it takes to help you have the kind of life and work-life balance you want. But in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.